waiting for this segment all morning long. We are rolling out the red carpet, not for Tucker, but for some adorable, adoptable dogs.
Well,
every year, the Best Friends Animal Society helps cats and dogs who are stuck in animal shelters find homes.
Bill Clinton is a rapist.
We've got a very excitable young man behind us. Not a Bill Clinton fan. He's a little bit upset, but that's okay. Everything is fine on Fox and Friends because we are surrounded by dogs. And if there's anything that calms the human heart, it's a canine.
And that's the whole point of the segment, actually, is because they're with best friends. And joining us live they're with best friends. And joining us
now is the former governor of the border state of New Mexico, Bill Richardson. Great to see you, Governor. So
nice to be with you, Tucker.
There are millions of people here illegally, and I guess the question is, do the mayors of these cities have any idea who they are?
Obama wanting to stop deportations. It's a federal
responsibility. But you're dodging the question. Is it a good precedent to set? If I'm mayor, can I just say, you know what, we're not going to enforce that law? Maybe a law against child abuse or drug use or tax evasion. We're just not going to enforce it. And nothing you can do. Should we do that? Really?
As long as the local law community, the local law enforcement community, the local city council agrees with the mayor, this is a states' rights, a city rights issue. The police should
so you're a states' rights guy now.
A mayor.
This is going to wind up in a crazy place. Did you just invoke states' rights?
Now you've changed your position. You want the federal government. You want federal laws to run everything. We want the states. We want local control.
Is that what you're saying?
You've changed your argument with the election of Trump. Come on.
Amazing. All right. Now, Governor, what we got you here. T.S. Scott Jenkins submitted this ABC Politics tweet. It reads, quote, former KKK leader David Duke praises Trump cabinet picks Bannon, Flynn, Sessions as, quote, great. Like, okay. What does that prove? R. Dunny 83 sent us this headline, these two headlines from Slate. The first is on November 19th, 2015. It reads, Donald Trump is actually a moderate Republican. And then, by the same author, just days later, on November 25th, 2015, it says, Donald Trump is a fascist. And the subheadline reads, this isn't a partisan attack. It is the political label that best describes what the GOP frontrunner has become. Gina tweeted this headline, also from Slate. That's a gold mine, by the way, of dumbness. There's no such thing as a good Trump voter. And finally, Shane Winters submitted this headline from GQ, the formerly impressive magazine. It said, quote, Donald Trump might literally destroy the world. Not figuratively, literally. Now to unravel the mystery is New York Times columnist and two-time Pulitzer Prize winner Nick Kristof. His latest column is entitled 12 Steps for Voters in Despair. Nicholas Kristof, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good to be with you.
So you've got this new column out, 12 Steps for people who are traumatized, as you say, by the election. And I won't go through all of them, but it's a sample. Volunteer to fight Islamophobia. Join the ACLU, donate to Planned Parenthood, take on sexism and misogyny, sort of all the stations of the cross of lifestyle liberalism. But there's no number 13, which is assess why this happened. Think deeply about why an event you didn't predict came to pass. Why not? I guess what I'm looking for is empathy. So you've traveled all around the world, famously to the worst places in the world, Darfur, Mogadishu, Ouagadougou, I'm sure.
Yeah,
probably to those places much more than Modesto and Lewiston, I would imagine. I've never read a column by you that suggests the people in those places, who support dictators oftentimes, are racist or bad people. You would never write that about a poor person in the third world. But you're implying that about your fellow Americans.
No, I'm not, Tucker. If you look at my columns, I precisely said we have to avoid that it's important not to stereotype Trump voters. I've been taking abuse on that from my fellow liberals because, I mean, these are ideas that I believe in very powerfully, but I also think it's important not to demonize Trump voters.
Really? Because the American Nazi Party and the KKK don't really exist in a meaningful sense. They may have an office or a website, but they're not tens of thousands or millions of members.
Look.
And when you tie Trump supporters to those groups, that's a slur.
No, it's not. I mean, I think that Trump is, frankly, a bigot. I think he has a racist history. I don't think that of his supporters. And his supporters from my hometown, I understand that suffering. I've written about it repeatedly from my town.
And what solutions have you proposed?
You know, I think it's hard, but I think education has to be at the heart of it. I don't think it's something that one can...
Well, they have schools. What does that mean, education?
I think that we underfund education for the people who most need it, that essentially affluent people in the New York suburbs get good education. In Yamhill, I don't think you get a good enough education. I think we also have to...
And you really think it's all about funding? Do you think there's evidence of that? There's social science to support the more you spend, the better result you get?
I think it's complicated and you can't pour money into a broken system, but I do think that money levels matter. I also think you need to create jobs, frankly. And maybe that will be...
What kind of jobs?
So, I mean, there is pretty good social science evidence on things like career academies to present the most at-risk people and provide them with apprenticeship jobs that lead to a career. It saves money over the long term. And this is not an area that I'm not a labor economist.
But that's kind of the point I guess I'm making. I'm not trying to be mean, but you've written a lot about climate change, for example. You're really concerned about it. You've thought a lot about it. You've thought a lot about the suffering of people in other countries. It doesn't seem like you've thought that deeply about the suffering of your fellow Americans. You don't have the solutions you have for, say, global warming. And my question is, isn't it always easier for the elites to identify with abstractions or poor people in other countries and kind of ignore their own countrymen? I've noticed this. Have you noticed that?
I think that is.
None of them was, hey, comfortable, smug people on the Upper West Side. Like, think about why people would have voted for the guy. That's not one of the prescriptions. Giving to Planned Parenthood?
Absolutely, absolutely. Two of them are precisely about that. And I'd encourage people to go and nytimes.com, read this column, and you can see for yourself
you say get out of your bubble, but
I will avoid demonizing people who don't agree with me about this election, recognizing this as wrong to stereotype Trump supporters as anybody else.
You just tied them to the Klan, the Nazi Party.
Not at all. No, that's completely unfair reading of this.
Well,
and I encourage people to check for yourself and read for themselves.
Please do. Check for yourself. Nicholas Kristof, thanks a lot for joining us.
Sure. Good to be with you.
I appreciate it.
Good to be in the lion's den.
Thank you. Not much of a lion.
Anybody else?
You just tied them to the Klan, the Nazi Party.
Not at all. No.
Well, here's something new. It turns out that half-pound burritos do not technically qualify as diet food, no matter what the packaging might tell you. Chipotle Mexican Grill is facing a class action lawsuit from 3 California customers who are accusing the chain of lying about nutritional information. At issue is the restaurant's new chorizo burrito, which I have not tried, but apparently looks excellent. The menu says it's 300 calories. But according to the complaint, one plaintiff felt, and we're quoting now, excessively full after eating the burrito and realized the item could not have just been 300 calories. Chipotle has not commented on the lawsuit, but previously it responded to baffled customers on Twitter to clarify that the 300 calories is for the chorizo alone, in the same sense that the lettuce on a cheeseburger has fewer calories without the bun, the meat, and the cheese. So how many calories in the entire chorizo burrito? It would be pure speculation, but trust us, more than 300. You don't need a class action suit to know that. Has removed all American flags from its campus after a recent incident in which unnamed students pulled down the flag the night before Veterans Day and set it on fire. Henceforth, says the school's president, no American flags will be flown on campus. Getting rid of the flag, he wrote, and I'm quoting, will enable us to instead focus our efforts on addressing racist, misogynistic, Islamophobic, anti-immigrant, anti-Semitic, and anti-LBGQ rhetoric and behaviors. Joining us now is Hampshire College student Daniel Vogel, who was in favor of removing the flag, though didn't burn it. Daniel, thanks a lot for coming on tonight. So I want to read you a quote from you. This is to the Amherst Bulletin, and you said, think about the groups who use the flag, from police officers to the U.S. Army. These are the forces on the ground that make oppression happen. Now, the obvious point is, obviously, if the police and the Army were to go away, sensitive college students like you would be eaten alive. Let me ask you a deeper question, which is, you find America unfair? Okay. What's a fairer country? Can you think of a country where you'd rather, for example, go on trial for a felony?
Well, first off, Tucker, I'd like to thank you for having me on your show. As a history major like yourself, I think we both recognize that conversations like this in the media are one thing that moves this country forward. And as a student working hard to become an American history teacher, I'm really excited to show this interview to my future students as representative of the difficulties of the democratic process. I think to respond to your question, there isn't really a country I'd rather be tried for a felony in. I really doubt that it's not really about me, you know. It's about black people and people of color in this country who, if they were tried for a felony, are much more likely than me to be put in prison for that.
Okay,
and I'm sure
I'll shift the question there. And by the way, I'm not arguing, never would argue that there aren't inequities here, that it's a perfect country or anything like that. Of course not. But is there a country in which African Americans would stand a chance of a fairer trial than the United States? Is there a fairer country? I mean, I guess my question is, like, do you have perspective on the world? When you say that all police and all cops are bad, do you really know what you're talking about?
do I have perspective on the world? Yeah, I'm well aware that the United States is militarily involved in over 7 different countries right now. Beyond Iraq and Afghanistan, they're involved in Libya. They're involved in plenty of countries in Africa. We have drone bases across the world, and I think that the U.S. imperial forces are really the main force in the world right now, using military force to oppress people. And I think that while that's like a useful question to ask, like which country would I rather be in, I'd rather that we focus on this country and how we can, fix and improve this country.
But why is it? Isn't this? Okay, I get it, but and I think we should fix and improve the country. But you're basically saying the flag represents evil to the extent that it shouldn't be flown. And my question is, why is it always rich kids who make that point? Why is it always kids from a $62,000 a year college like Hampshire who are making that point? None of the workers who you claim to be representing ever say that. You never see anybody at a trade school burning the American flag. Have you noticed that? I'm not making this up in my mind, am I?
I think that you're more likely to pick up a story in which rich kids do burn a flag on the basis that we have more access to the media. I mean, like the flag burning wasn't
really. So you think it's like your average HVAC repair school? They're burning the flag.
Well, I believe,
there is something
as you and me both know, the politics of this country are divided by class, and there is like a definite inequality in terms of where liberal thought is, and I think that no matter the question of the class of the students who did burn the flag, and I would say that Hampshire College is fairly generous in terms of its financial aid circumstances, and while I don't know the student that burned the flag, I also don't know the class that they did come from.
Really? Because I have some sense. What's the median family income in this country? Do you know?
The median family income in this country?
Yeah. What does a median family make? Yeah, it's
the
much
median
less.
Family in this country.
Yeah, it's much less than 1 year of your schooling. Yeah, of $62,000, which is what you pay or your parents pay for you to go to Hampshire school and burn the American flag. It's much less than that. And so I just wonder if you understand the bounty that you have, the good deal that you have, the excess that you're benefiting from. Do you get that at all?
Oh, no, I am 100% privileged to be at this institution. And I think that I have to recognize the fact that the wealth of my parents that was able to pay for this institution was garnered off of slavery and was taken from exploitation. The land that I live on was taken from Native peoples, and the land that I live on back in Portland, back home, was taken from Native peoples. It's the wealth of the people who've been oppressed and who've had things stolen from them that allowed me to go to this institution.
But then, so why are you doing it? I mean, honestly, why are you doing it? I mean, why not go pick apples in Washington State? Why are you consuming $62,000 a year of this blood money, as you describe it, to sit around campus and do pointless rhetorical and symbolic acts like burning flags? I mean, why not work with the people, the laborers?
No, I very much disagree that symbolic, removing the flag was a not useful thing. I mean, it got me on your show, correct? It's a useful tactic in terms of getting voices out there. And I think that going to a school like Hampshire College, I'm not here to defend going to Hampshire College. What I'm here to do is I'm here to defend the removing of the flag from our campus, which was overall a democratic process.
So I can understand the context of this. Very quickly, you're for diversity, obviously. And yet, I bet there's virtually nobody on your campus who's openly supporting Donald Trump. Do you yearn for more diversity on your campus, or are you happy in a world where everyone thinks like you?
I think diversity is a different word when you're applying it to political standpoints versus different aspects. Like, I can leave Hampshire College and go to UMass or Amherst College right next door and expose myself to different viewpoints. The point of Hampshire College isn't to create a model of our country and then simulate like political debate and whatnot. It's to figure out, well, what is most liberally collect? What is the most social justice academia that we can go for?
I'm for diversity, Daniel, and I say we diversify Hampshire College. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much, Doug.
Good luck to you.
Fatality.
issue. The police.
All right, look, we appreciate you coming on. I know how busy you are.
I'm loving it. No, I don't get tired. It's lovely, right? High energy.